Congressman Mike Waltz of Florida, a combat-decorated Green Beret who has served in both the U.S. Army and the National Guard. He's made multiple combat tours in Afghanistan, the Middle East, and Africa. He's also a member of the House Armed Services and the House Foreign Affairs Committees. Congressman, thanks for joining us. We'll get to the debate in a second, but I do want to ask you about this major missile attack by Iran against Israel today, a blaring sign that the Middle East conflict has moved closer to an all-out war. What is your assessment about where it all stands right now and how, if at all, matters can be de-escalated?
Yeah, Jake, this is spinning completely out of control, and I think it stems from a failed Middle East policy from this administration. At some point, they've got to look at the mirror and say that their de-escalation approach, that their focus on Gaza and a ceasefire and pressuring Israel hasn't worked and is not going to work. And what does work is maximum pressure on Iran. And just a few years ago, their currency was tanking, their foreign reserves were tanking, they were exporting almost zero oil. And most importantly, Jake, this was the metric I paid attention to, Hezbollah and Hamas and their proxies were all complaining that they were out of cash. This was in 2019. They were literally out of funds to continue their attacks. So until the administration pivots on Iran, and we saw Jake Sullivan just get asked, what consequences has Iran suffered from the last attack? And he couldn't answer the question. And I found it just amazing and inexplicable that the Pentagon spokesman wouldn't at least say all options are on the table in terms of a U.S. response and that we are prepared to assist Israel in their response. At least put the threat on the table in hopes of deterring Iran from future attacks. But this administration is unwilling to pivot. And as long as Iran is flush with cash, no matter what tactical successes Israel is having, which have been significant, it's going to continue. They are going to help Hezbollah and Hamas rebuild.
Two U.S. officials did tell CNN that dozens of U.S. service members have been sent to Cyprus should a full-blown war erupt. I do wonder if Iran continues to get involved with more attacks, such as the one we saw today, do you anticipate more U.S. troops will be sent to the Middle East? And do you think the United States should play a kinetic, an armed role in retaliating or responding to Iran's attacks on a U.S. ally?
But the thing is, Jake, that a kinetic response is really unnecessary. What should we be doing? The House passed secondary sanctions on Chinese buyers of Iranian oil. 90% of Iran's oil is going to China. We put sanctions on their refiners. The Senate won't take it up. The administration won't support it. Why? We could put sanctions back on their missile program that this administration allowed to founder. Our hostages, which unfortunately are now 360 days, how about an approach of every week that goes by, we're going to turn up the consequences on Iran until Iran, you tell Hamas to release them. But instead, I mean, this is the definition of insanity. I mean, they're just banging their head against a policy that's not working. So until they pivot on Iran, and they could do offensive cyber, there's a lot you could put on the table without going to war, but yet they just refuse to do it, and it's inexplicable.